This week, Conflict Zone is in Zorneding, near Munich, to talk to Angelika Niebler. She is a member of the European Parliament for Bavaria's Conservative Christian Social Union. At a time of growing divisions in Europe over religion and migration, we ask her, should politicians not be avoiding religious issues? Angelika Niebler, welcome to Conflict Zone.
Hello, Mr. Friedman.
It appears that the European Union is massively struggling with religion at the moment, particularly with Islam, isn't it?
Well, actually, in the member states, we have a lot of debates on the question of Islam and Muslim refugees and issues like that. On the European Union level, we concentrate, on asylum policy.
How can you? Your member states
policy.
are introducing their debates into the European Union. These are not two differentiated levels. I'm very sorry.
They are not differentiated, and of course on the European level we take note of what's happening in the member states, in all of the member states. But if you ask me as a politician, I'm a member of the European Parliament and I have to concentrate on my work I'm doing over there, and what we are doing right now is trying to sort out the troubles and find a common approach on the asylum and migration policy.
At the same time you're a conservative, that means you are in the same group like your party friend Viktor Orban. So let's speak a little bit about the reality of Europe, also of the European Union, and the influence of all these debates. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is leading the chorus of warnings about Islam. Quote, "We don't consider these people as Muslim refugees. We consider them as Muslim invaders," unquote. Do you agree?
I would not use the words he used, and I do not agree on that term. Well, this is politics in Hungary.
No, it's also politics in Europe. It's also politics about Germany. Germany is quarreling with Hungary about these point of views. Don't try to isolate all that.
No,
it's
I'm not isolating.
problem.
I'm not isolating. I'm in Europe. I'm in the European Parliament, and I'm carefully, intervening and debating and discussing with people and with my colleagues in the political party on our German approach on asylum policy, on migration.
We will come back to this. Another quote: "Nations will cease to exist. The West will fall, while Europe won't even realize it has been invaded." That's quite drastic talk. Mr. Orban, your friend also in the EPP.
Well, the Fidesz is within the EPP group, that is correct.
So you agree with him?
No, I'm not as stressed. This is never something I would say like that, and I do not agree on the question. Whenever you use an expression like invasion, I think you have to find out what do you mean by that. Yeah, if Orban wanted to express, that a lot of people came to Hungary at a certain time. This is if that is going to be considered.
No, he's speaking about that
invasion,
in the year 2017, 18. Nobody is there anymore.
Please, Mr. Friedman, let me finish. I think then he would describe a situation. Yeah, but if you interpret it in a different way. Then I think I would not agree on that. And again, if you want to find out what Mr. Orban says, I would ask you to ask him.
That's too easy. I mean, this way of arguing is too easy. Firstly, he is a part in the EPP. That means you are in one family. So the question is, what is about this member of your family? Do you agree or not? Secondly, Mr. Orban is one of the states in Europe. And that means Hungarian parliamentarians, Hungarian people are influencing, also Polish ones, politics in Europe. And that's why I think we have to continue to talk a little bit, because I would like to understand your position. Orban said about Muslims, every single migrant poses a public security and terror risk. This is hate speech, isn't it? Every single migrant poses a public security and terror risk. every Muslim is now a terrorist?
Again, Mr. Friedman, this is not what I support. This is not my opinion. This is not my party's opinion. You mentioned that Fidesz and Mr. Orban's party is member of our EPP group. That is correct. And I think there is a big chance for us also to debate on issues like that, to criticize and to try to convince him also to slightly
but he doesn't
amend.
listen. He doesn't listen to you.
Oh,
it doesn't seem that he is changing his opinion.
Maybe not now. You know, it's always a process, and I think we have to understand what his arguments are for expressions like that.
Would you condemn that? Simply condemn that and say very.
Well, what do you mean
clearly.
by condemn? I clearly stated, again, it's not my wording. I don't
This
agree.
is not a condemnation. This is that you are not like him.
It's not my wording. It's not my wording. I don't agree on what he has said. And we have to talk about what he meant by that. And if I do not agree to him, then I will let him know when I have a chance to do that. We have all our party meetings, so we will meet I think in June. We will have a meeting here in Munich. We'll have a big meeting at the end of the year. So there is an ongoing process and an ongoing discussion and debate on issues like that. But you know, condemnation is a very hard word, yeah. And again,
what he's saying are not hard words. He's a European.
Yeah.
He's a member in the European Union, and I want to
but
follow
he's
your.
Also, Mr. Friedman, he's also a politician, you know, and he was campaigning.
This is an
also.
excuse for racism?
No, it's not of course, it's not an excuse of racism. But well, I try to understand and I try to find out the reasoning behind.
You don't know the reason behind why a man like Orban is saying all these things?
Well, it's not.
It's perhaps election campaigns. It's power play.
Well,
it's populism.
It's, of course, when you're in the, you know it perfectly well, when you're in the political debate and discussions, you are sometimes exaggerating. But I agree with you in the sense that, you know, you have to be careful if you talk about invasion. You have to, this is a tough word, again, which I would never use and which I would never accept.
It was your wish to speak and to talk about European level. So let's talk about Article 21 of the European Charter saying, quote, any discrimination based on any ground such as religion shall be prohibited. The Foreign Minister of Luxembourg, Jean Asselborn, accused Viktor Orban, he found words, of violation the EU Charter and demanded strong sanctions against Hungary. Can you understand, Mr. Asselborn?
Well, again, I can understand that according to his interpretation, this is absolutely not acceptable.
Do you agree with him?
Looking at the European Union, I think what do we have as a task? What do we have to do? And what we have to do is just to show that it's not okay, you know, using wordings and using expressions like that.
Sanctions.
And say, well, sanctions. I start with trying to understand what's the reasoning behind?
I learned that the fundament of the European Union, the ground, are human rights, are certain values.
I agree on that.
So if a member state, represented by a prime minister, or two, even three, don't respect human rights, for example, discrimination, and the world is not seeing any reaction, how do you want that you are respected when you are telling others the foundation are human rights if you in your own family are not doing as much as possible that this is happening?
Again, what we are doing in our EPP family is to controversially discuss issues like that.
And but this had been done. Are there no red lines?
This had been done, and we will continue the debates.
Are there red lines?
Well, again,
would you introduce Le Pen's party?
No, we wouldn't introduce
Is there a big difference in the rhetoric about Islam between the right-wing parties and Orban's expressions?
Yeah. Well, I think there is a difference. Again, I'm not taking up his wording and his expressions. Yeah? And let us talk in our EPP group about the campaigning and everything. We have to do that, by the way, because the next election for the European Parliament will take place next year in May. So if he is in the family, and we think he should stay in the family, then we have to
Why?
agree.
Only because if he
then
is
we have
leaving,
to agree
you are
what
losing
our
the majority.
we have to agree what our political messages are going to be. That's what I wanted to say.
You would lose your majority. That's one of the points why you say we need them in our family.
Listen, Mr. Friedman, listen, you know, a politician...
Isn't it?
A politician who does not want to get a good vote in the elections, who does not go for majority, I think he's not a good politician either. But that's really not the only reason. We have our values, and we have a common ground in the EPP group, and I learned that not only Mr. Asselborn, who does not belong to our political group, but colleagues from our political group also have some reservations on things said during the election campaign. So we have to talk about that. We have to sort that out and to see how we are going on. But let me finish. You know, I ask you the question: how do you influence? How do you try to change things, to move things forward in a direction which you think is the right way? Yeah? My feeling is, if you come with sanctions, if you are coming with punishment, if you are, this is not the right way. I think blaming and shaming is good. I think, you know, having an open and frank and controversial debate is good. Yeah? And of course, if all that is not bringing the positive results, then you have to think about other things. But that's not the point.
I understand your point. Fair enough. But if other things like the state of law and other problems are changing, then the question is if this dialogue idea that you are presenting is not, at the end, appeasement. In his country, in Hungary or in Poland, a lot of civil rights are not anymore existing as they have to be after our principles. The population is paying a certain price. So this is only the other side of your argument.
Your quote referred to what had been said during the election campaign, so this is quite new. And again, you know, we have the discussion, we have the debate. We had a long debate in the European Parliament, in our plenary. The discussions are ongoing, so and we have instruments. Let me just finish, please. And we have instruments. You know, if someone is not sticking to the rules, then we have a mechanism. We have a mechanism which is going to be introduced. And right now we are watching, we are observing, and if it's changing, then the other instruments are going to be triggered.
You are also on the executive board of the CSU, which, far from distancing itself from Orban, keeps inviting him as a guest of honor to party retreats. Isn't this a fatal signal?
Again, if
you don't criticize him,
we are not
you
only
invite him.
We have a long history with Hungary. We as Bavarians.
We speak about this, Prime Minister.
And we have close cooperation also on the economic field, on educational field, on, you know, arranging for exchanges and everything between Bavaria and between Hungary. Viktor Orban, we know for 20, 30 years.
So what?
Yeah, so what?
Is that an argument?
No, it's not. It's an argument for talking. It's an argument for exchanging
but
views.
This sounds
it's an argument
so
for understanding.
Nice.
No, it's not only nice.
It is so nice to listen to you. Long-time CSU leader Horst Seehofer. Let's speak really to the point. Now, Federal Interior Minister has said, we, the CSU, we should not demonize Orban. Is it not Mr. Orban doing the demonizing by calling refugees Muslim invaders? Why is he protecting Mr. Orban? He is protecting him against criticism.
He is in dialogue with Mr. Orban. My party leader is also in dialogue with Mr. Putin.
He is not on
My
dialogue,
party leader is in dialogue with quite a lot of state representatives.
He's judging. Don't demonize him, and he's embracing him, and the world can watch at that.
Well, again, we'll try to understand what's going on in Hungary. Yeah? And Mr. Friedman, I think we have to realize that we had an election in Hungary, yeah? With a huge participation in the polls. People wanted to poll, people waited in front, you know, of the polls to vote. And you know that it was a huge majority which supported Mr. Orban's political line. So this is not a justification, but I think this is also part of accepting the reality as it is.
Are elections also a reason, and in Bavaria we will have in a few months election, that your party leader, Horst Seehofer, not only embrace Mr. Orban, but is very near to him in political ideas. Horst Seehofer said, Islam does not belong to Germany. Mr. Orban is saying the same. Germany is characterized by Christianity, unquote. Do you agree?
It depends on what do you mean by Islam is belonging to Germany or is not belonging to Germany. What do you want to express? And the second sentence my party leader also stressed was, of course, Muslims living in Germany, they are part of Germany.
Oh, thank you so much. They are Germans.
But what
I
he
don't
wanted,
need any politician
but
to say that I'm a German.
what he wanted to express, that is, you know,
that the religion doesn't belong.
No, that the religion is not what is what had been our identity, our cultural roots, which we followed. That is the Christianity,
look,
and that's not the. It's
I
not
take
Islam.
your party leader.
And
I
that is
take your
correct.
party leader very seriously.
That's
Islam
good. That's
does
good.
not
That's very
belong
good.
to Germany. He was not saying Islam didn't belong. He is in the present time. In the present time, the Chancellor answered to this rhetoric tricks. And she answered very quickly. She said, quote, Muslims belong to Germany. That is also what Mr. Seehofer said.
Yeah, that's correct.
And their religion, Islam, belongs here just as much, unquote. Who is right, Merkel or Seehofer?
I ask you another question. What is our cultural identity? Huh? You were traveling to Bavaria, coming over here.
I ask
appreciate
you
that.
concretely.
Yeah, but not again. You know, what is our cultural identity? And again, it's our Christian Jewish roots.
No,
which
please,
we are
please
based
don't
on.
start now with the Jewish
yeah.
roots.
Okay, take it
Please.
away.
Since a few years it was not the Jewish one.
Let's concentrate on the Christian values, which are here all over in Bavaria. In every village you are traveling around, you will see the churches being here. So this is what had been our tradition, our culture. These are the values upon which, you know, our our society is built upon. Yeah? And the same is not true for Islam. Yeah? The same is not true for Islam. And that's the only thing we want to express in Bavaria. What are our cultures? Yeah?
Islam belongs here just as much, is not saying a left politician. It's Mrs. Merkel who said this. With all your explanation, thank you very much for these historical explanation about Christianity. We are 2018. She said their religion are a part of Germany, not only these ones who are here. Who is right, Merkel or Seehofer?
I do not see a big difference between Angela Merkel and between Horst Seehofer. Well,
they were
honestly,
quarreling 2 years about that.
No. I think it's, well, if you interpret this sentence in the sense that part of our cultural identity is the Christianity, which you will find all over here.
But that's not the point. I'm very sorry.
No, that's the point.
With all due respect. No, you told
Mr.
us
Friedman,
that.
that's exactly the point.
You told
that's exactly
us that.
The point.
Today, 2018, again, we are here in a liberal free state.
Yeah.
Is the Islam a part of Germany, yes or no?
Islam is a religion, which...
Really?
Islam is a religion, and we
part of Germany?
We all want the freedom of religion.
Is
but
this a part of Germany?
It's not, according to how I use this sentence, how I interpret this sentence, Islam is not a part of Germany.
Okay,
I fully
agree. Thank you very much.
I fully agree with that sentence formulated by Mr. Seehofer. Yeah? But let me stress, you know, you have to give me the chance to interpret, you know, what is meant by that sentence. Yeah.
You did it.
Okay.
Now let's go to Christianity.
Yeah.
Söder, the state premier of Bavaria, has implemented a policy now, a few months before the elections in Bavaria, of hanging the Christian cross in all of Bavaria's state-run offices. The German constitution, however, guarantees the neutrality of the state towards religion. He's breaking the constitution, isn't he?
He's not breaking the institution, come on. And by the way, it's not, you know, the debate on the cross we had for ages. Yeah, we also had a big
but there
debate.
Was a time
we had a big debate on as to whether it's allowed to have a cross in the classrooms in schools.
But you didn't do this for years. If not, Mr. Söder wouldn't have been obliged to
Mr.
Mr.
Friedman, we have a debate on what are our cultures, what are our values. I'm sorry that I'm repeating myself, but I think it's important to stress it. And the cross, it's not only a religious symbol, but it's also, you know, symbolizing, you know, what our cultures are.
All bishops told you, don't argue like that. The cross is the symbol of the Christian religion. Nothing else. Don't start with cultures. It's not me. It was Cardinal Marx who mentioned. You want
to misinterpret me. So again, when I'm also using a cross. I'm a Christian, yeah. But for me, it's also an expression, you know, of what we are standing for. What are our common values? What is our cultural identity? Yeah? And this is not jeopardizing that for a Christian. You know, the cross has another symbol and another meaning.
You know that the situation is very emotionalized. You know that there is a debate between these religion issues. Why now? And now I want to accept what you just mentioned, the Jewish Christian time. So if this is the case and a cross is up on the wall, why not put up the David star on the wall? Would you agree with this?
Again, what's wrong with the cross on the wall? I don't think it's wrong.
Would you agree with the David cross? The star? The David star, yes or no?
Well, I think I wouldn't mind, honestly.
And what's about the symbol of the Islam?
For us, the cross, like the David star, is a symbol. It's a symbol for our culture, for our identity, for our Christian values. And for that, I would accept that.
We discussed that the danger with Islam is that it mixes politics with religion. This is what Markus Söder is doing now, isn't it?
No, I think he quite clearly stressed and pointed out why he put the cross on the walls in the official state buildings.
But honestly,
and that was exactly the explanation I gave to you.
A very important politician, having his cross in his hands. Again, we are, and I believe that it is a point, we are discussing the danger that religion and states are mixes. What is this, if not mixing religious with politics?
Well, I answer with a question to you. What's wrong, you know, with making a reference, visibility and a visibility to the values which you share?
Because perhaps you are privileging one religion.
No, you don't.
No?
No.
So everybody else can also hang their religion signals.
Yeah, but not in official state buildings.
Why not? You are the owner, the Christians are the owner. These are state wars. Nobody owns them. There is not one religion who has to be privileged.
It's not a privilege of a religion, because the cross is not used by Markus Söder as a religious symbol. It's used as, you know, showing what is our identity, what is our culture, what are the values which we share here in Bavaria. And for that, as a symbol, you have the cross, you know, referring to the human dignity, referring to solidarity and things like that. And for that, I think it's okay in times like this, where people are, where so many things are going on. You know, people have to be reassured. You know, what are our values and what we stand for.
I'm not a specialist in Christianity, but there is one. The measure may be aimed at Bavaria's Catholic majority, but even Cardinal Reinhard Marx, who is the chairman of the German Bishops' Conference, said it caused, quote, divisions and disquiet.
Well, you cited Mr. Marx.
The highest authority of the Catholic Church in Germany.
I highly appreciate Cardinal Marx. But he continued in having a debate, with us also on what is meant by that. And I think now he is also stressing that no one is against, using the cross as a symbol. And of course, it's always important to underline that there is no discrimination of other religions. That's important, yeah. But again, it's not wrong. I do not see that anything is wrong, yeah, if you refer to your cultural identity also in public buildings.
Angelika Niebler, thank you for being on Conflict Zone. It was a big pleasure.
It was my pleasure, Michael Friedman. All the best for you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.